You're here with Marx on another INDAMIX, and today I'm interviewing UK gospel artist Sharyn, nominated for StepFWD Awards. So let's get it. Okay, guys, like I was saying, I'm here with Sharyn today, nominated for StepFWD Awards Song of the Year, the R&B category. So we're going to get in with her, find out how she's doing and a bit more about her music. So, Sharyn, how you doing today, man?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Great to have you here for the interview.
I'm happy to be here. It's been a pleasure. I tune into the show and Affinity Extra as well, so
Excellent,
I enjoy
excellent.
it.
You know what? I'd say start off by saying a big congrats to you for the nomination, man. How did you feel when it came?
Thank you. It's always such an honor whenever, you receive any sort of recognition.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just felt like really privileged to be nominated and alongside all the other artists in the category as well. And I love everything that Step Forward does and like stands for and
Mhm.
all their support over these years. So yeah, I felt amazing.
It's good, man. And I mean, your track that was nominated was the live track, wasn't it, with Triple O?
Yes, one of my favorites on the album, Life with my brother Triple O. So, it's such a beautiful track that I wrote almost like I want to say 60 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I wrote it a while ago, but it's just so beautiful to see it, being recognized like within this body of work.
You know, I suppose then the follow-up question should be, why did it take so long for this track to come out and be given to us, the public?
You know what? It's one of those things where I think it was a very personal song to me. It still is, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But the opening line is, "I'm uncomfortable with my singleness," and I think it's one of those songs where I just was asking myself really hard hitting questions.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you're that honest in a track,
Yeah.
you're apprehensive to share it with the world, right? To be like, oh my gosh, how are people gonna like perceive
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
because this is real life, this is my reality. And so it's one of those things where because I was a bit nervous to release it, but I'm so glad that I took my time with it because, shout out to Andre, my producer. I think it's when you have the right people on a song, that's
Mm.
what really gives it, I think, that's the sound that it needs. And it really just, me taking time with it and then eventually getting Triple O to also feature on it, I think really just did the song justice, really.
Yeah, I mean, the track is a big track. It was taken from your In Full Bloom album, wasn't it?
That's correct. Yeah. It came
Which
out
is
in,
like a
in
13 track
June
album as well.
2021. Yeah.
Did you ever release it as a single, or was it just part of the main project?
So yeah, no. So Life wasn't released as a single. The single that was released, the album was actually Call Your Name, which track I did with Wild. But Life was actually just a part of the project, the album. I just wanted it just to flow and for people
Yeah,
just to kind of just to feel it, amidst the like the other tracks on that album.
yeah. You know, I want to touch on that album because one of the things that I really like about you as an artist is there's so many facets to you in terms of the styles you do. You know, you're not someone that seems to be like in a box, like, okay, she does R&B, she does this. Because I've heard the R&B kind of tracks from you, the more soulful ones. I heard a garage track from you, a bit some Afro beats. So you kind of
Yeah.
like can flow anywhere kind of thing. So that's really good that you've got that kind of thing. But how did you make the choices for the songs that featured on that album? Especially like I said, there's so many different kind of styles you're able to bring to your music.
Wow, what a question. I think it sounds like, I feel like it's a cop out answer, but
Mm.
I really felt like the songs they chose themselves. I
Okay.
think one thing I felt is I'm someone who writes consistently. I always write, but I felt like there was a message that needed to come out with this album about being in full bloom, about the
Yeah.
journey to wholeness. And I think the songs that I selected, like me and my team, that we felt were the right fitting for this album, really just I felt like really contributed to that message,
Yeah.
in their own way, And I felt like with especially with Life in particular, like I think it's one of those tracks where relationships and singleness is a big part of all of our journeys here on earth. And the journey to wholeness is not just you being in a relationship, it's also you being in your side by yourself. And I
Yeah.
talk about in the chorus how seasons change over time. And I think that is what what a plant goes through, you know, and it's not just about you blooming, but then after spring and summer, when the plants have been vibrant and they've had all this growth, there comes a time when certain leaves die,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and certain leaves have to wilter in order to give room and nourishment for new life
Mm.
to come out. And I think that's literally what I felt like life brought to this album, and what I thought so many of the other tracks, you know, they contributed to this album. So yeah.
You know, I feel like I've just had a therapy session where you kind of like talked about life. That is really good though, because you know, you can release the album and just call it anything, you know what I'm saying? But for you to obviously call it what you did in full bloom and be able to explain it and so people can catch the vision behind it, it's really good. So I really like
Yeah.
that, man. But I mean, it ministered to me
Yeah.
just listening to what you had to say. So that's really good.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
What I
Yeah.
want to do now though is I want to take you back a bit. I want to take you like way back and say we're speaking to the 14-year-old, 15-year-old Sharyn. Who does she say are the artists she's listening to?
Oh, she's definitely listening to Adele. She is definitely listening to Mary Mary.
Okay.
She's definitely listening to, I want to say that was summer, maybe like we had a Labyrinth Tiny Temper
Yeah,
collaboration, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I feel like that's like maybe around the pass out era.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, that's what I'm listening to. Who else is she listening to? I would say she was definitely listening to a bit of Israel Houghton as well. Like
Okay.
Live in Africa has always been one of my favorite worship albums of Israel
Yeah,
and New Breed. And I felt like in that time as well, you know, that was near GCSE time, you know,
yes, yeah,
exam
yeah, yeah,
stress. So
yeah,
I think she's definitely listened to a bit of worship
yeah,
before
yeah.
exams, you know. But yeah, also that's what she's listening to, yeah.
So how much then would you say that these particular artists played an influence in terms of like you developing yourself as an artist?
Oh, so much, because I feel like I'm one of those people who I really take note on in an artist's growth and journey. So even for example, those people I've listened to at 14, I still listen to them today.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in that time, like I would say I take note of, I think especially artists like, you know, like Adele and someone like even like Labyrinth, for example, they've both evolved as people.
yeah,
But I one thing I love about both of them is like this is their honesty in their writing. And I
mm,
think that's something I've always appreciated from a very young age is when someone just speaks and tells their truth through
yeah,
their song
yeah,
and through their
yeah,
music. And I think that's something that, you know, I've always, let's say, received from someone like Adele,
mm,
is that even though I couldn't relate to her, you know, never mind, I find someone like you, that ain't my
yeah,
story. Hello,
yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like I always appreciated
Mm,
this her storytelling and her transparency in her songs.
mhm,
And I think that's what's always encouraged me in my writing to be like, what is my truth? What is it that I'm trying to say in this thing? What is it that I'm going through now? What is it that I'm feeling now?
yeah,
And so that's something that, and then, but then also knowing that as we get older, those feelings change, right?
yeah,
We experience new things, and
mm,
it's like things that you may have felt then, you might not feel now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so then, what does that difference and growth, and what does that look
yeah,
like?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, talking, you know, you mentioned about your writing there. How much of your writing did you do when you was younger? Or is it something you more developed as you got older?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wrote my first song when I was 16.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was called Lovesick, and it's one of the worst songs I've ever written. But what I take note of that was because like the chorus is something like I won't sing it, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's basically about I talk about being I'm sick, I'm ill, think I've got the disease, and it's
yeah,
basically about this boy I had a crush on
yeah,
when I was younger, you know. And one thing I loved was that when I was writing, I was so literal with everything. I loved imagery. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
yeah, imagine like writing about you know how you feel when you've got the flu, but it's not the flu, it's about love. Like I was like, wow, this is. I thought
yeah,
I
yeah,
was a genius, you know. But with time, that's gotten so much better.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that a lot of the songs that I've written, majority of the writing, then I started to do again.
Mhm,
After I was 16, 17, I didn't really
yeah.
write properly until I was, I want to say like 20, 21.
Okay.
So in that time that I kind of stepped away because I realized again, a lot of these songs I was trying to I'll be real. I was
Yeah.
trying to be that kind of that writer that wrote a lot of love songs, and I'd not really been in love.
Yeah.
And then I had to ask myself honestly, what is my truth? Who do I love? And
Mhm.
I said, I love God, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And then that's where the song I had to write came from, is my love for God,
Mm.
you know? And then through that, then the way that I would ripen and my skill, and I've always really been into poetry as well. So I've
Yeah.
always written poems since I was younger as well.
You've got a
You know,
spoken word one on your album, haven't you? In Full Bloom album. Yeah.
yes, I do. Yeah, and there's even a story about that. Because we needed like a almost like a transition between two tracks,
Yeah.
and my producer was just like, "Can you just give me something? Give me like a spoken word, something." Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da.
Yeah.
You have like he literally gave me like an hour, and
Wow.
I
Wow.
was at home. So I literally wrote something real quick, recorded
Mm.
it, sent it to him, because he's like, we felt like we needed something that was, but
Yeah.
an hour's not enough time just to call. I know so many other spoken word artists, so I just did it myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it caught me by surprise. I'm listening to the album, and obviously you're jamming, you listen to the tunes, and then suddenly just spoke. I'm like, where did that come from? And when you listen to it,
Yeah,
it's so
even
passionate,
yeah.
it's so powerful in terms of what you said. And again, it goes to show the different sides of you in terms of what you're able to do with your music, as well as obviously now the spoken word as well. Uh, I want to talk about your most recent track that you did, which was "When Love Comes Round" for the Gospel Heritage project.
Yes,
That
yeah.
tune is a jam. I listening to that,
Thank
yeah, and
you.
you know when you find them tunes, you got to keep putting them on rewind and just listen to, yeah,
Yeah.
one of them tunes
Thank you,
there,
thank you.
big tune. How did what was the vision behind that one? Tell us a bit about that particular song itself.
You know what? I feel like I want to keep it 100 with you. That track I actually wrote with a theme of Christmas in mind.
Okay,
Like
wow,
I
okay.
actually wrote it with the theme of like when Christ came into the world, or
Mm,
when his birth inspired.
mm,
And I was just like, what did Jesus' birth inspire? What did it come with? And
yeah,
it's like it came with love, when love comes.
yeah,
And I literally wrote from that place, like the fact that Jesus has been with us from when time began. Like I
yeah.
really wanted it to be like this like a song that felt very kind of movie soundtrack, like had the Prince of Egypt in mind as well.
Wow,
And
okay,
I
okay.
was thinking a lot about like the Jacksons, like Michael and Janet.
Mm,
Like I was, because I loved how, especially in the 90s, like their sound in particular, it was very R&B, right? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
very, very R&B, like, and like a lot of their tracks were just like, it was just so cinematic.
mm,
So I was like, I really wanted to create a track that was just so cinematic, and like you can envision at like the start of this like nativity,
yeah, yeah.
and that's literally where I wrote from, and then it just literally evolved from there. And so when Platoon asked me to bring a song onto this project for gospel, celebrate gospel music, I
Mm,
was like, this is the perfect song, because someone might be listening to Christian on gospel music for the first time, and I was like, how beautiful would it be when they understand that like love has been with them from the start of their existence,
yeah,
because love has been with us from the start of Earth's creation.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, like I said, that's a very big tune. Are we going to get like a music video to that one?
Ah! I would
I'm
love
calling you
to. I
out
would
now.
love to. I would love to. Listen, if there's a budget for that, I would love to. I would love to
Yeah,
music video
yeah,
for that. Yeah.
yeah. That's. I mean, like I said, the tune is a massive. Like I just imagine this great music video which will just blow up if you was able to pull that off. So I mean, it's something to think about. I'm just putting it out there, calling you out. But yeah, but like I said, I
I
listened
know,
to the
yeah.
jam and just like it just got me going. So guys, for those of you that haven't heard it, definitely going over to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you are, and check out this tune when love comes. Trust me, it's a jam, man. You're not gonna miss anything. That she put everything into the track. Trust me, everything goes into that track. It's a big tune. All right, listen, it's time for a game. I do this with every artist that
Yeah.
I have here. So I don't know if you've seen any of the previous interviews, but basically what I've done is every artist that comes on, I do a game with them which is based around their music. So it's not anything that you're not going to or you shouldn't know or have a clue about. Okay. So you're
Okay,
going to
let's
get
go.
three questions. So the first one is your Way of Escape single that you released. Yeah.
Yes.
The cover art. What color
Yeah.
trousers were you wearing on it?
Oh my gosh, what color trousers? Is it blue?
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Because I put down blue turquoise. So yeah, you got that one.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. That's like my Kim Possible esque
Yeah, see,
look.
I can see that. I can
Yes.
see that. Yeah, I can see that. Your next one. This one is a lyric from one of your tracks. You have to tell me which track it is. And the lyric is, every Bible verse points to the one who saved us.
Every Bible verse points to the one who saves us. Oh my God! What's the song called? Only You.
There you go. You got it. You got it. Yeah. All right, your very last one. Your Beautiful Savior EP. On the front cover, how many icons are there?
5.
That was so easy.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a round of applause here because you're the first artist that has got all the answers to their questions when I've done this with them.
Come on,
so there you go.
I know my discography. Let's go.
Listen, we got to round it up a little bit now. So tell us, what's next for you? Is there any projects coming up, any events that we need to look out for? Obviously, we know you're at the StepFWD Awards as well, so we're going to be seeing you down there. But apart from that, anything else?
We are literally, I'm working hard behind the scenes to bring something new, bring something fresh, to continue just to be transparent, to tell my story, to tell people's story, and just to encourage people. So yeah, stay tuned. We're working. Yeah.
And where can people find you, like on socials, if they want to keep up with what you're doing and like make sure that they're always?
Yes, they can find. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under the name Sharyn Official, and Sharyn is spelled SHARYN, and the word official. I've made a commitment to myself, guys. 2023, we land on TikTok, but now.
Okay. I'm not even lying. I've been running away from that for the longest, man.
Me too. I'm trying to make a commitment to be on TikTok next year, but right now we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, on Facebook, and then I want to join the gang on TikTok because TikTok is lit. Yeah, I just need to crack. I need to crack the code, but we'll be on there soon. We're landing. I'll do a soft launch.
I want to watch you. Maybe get some tips because, like I said, I've been running from the longest, so I don't even know, man. But guys, like you heard it from her ahead. Like, make sure you follow her on her socials. Sharyn Official. Sharyn spelled SHARYN, then official. Yeah. So make sure you're following her on the socials and definitely check out that trailer I was telling you about, When Love Comes. It is a banger, guys. Trust me, it really is. Sharyn, thank you for coming in and having this interview, man. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Yeah, you too as well. And we'll speak soon, okay? Okay, guys, that was the interview that I did with Sharyn. Make sure you're following her, like I said, on her social media, Sharyn Official. Sharyn spelled SHARYN Official. Make sure you're following her. Check out the tunes, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to vote for her, head over to StepFWD and definitely, like I said, cast your votes. There's a lot of great artists on there, but if you want to vote for Sharyn, that's where you're going to go to and vote for her song Live featuring Triple O. It's a great song as well, so make sure you're checking that one out, showing its support, streaming it on all your platforms. And this has been Marx on another In The Mix.
Visit us for updates and shows at affinityextra.co.uk.